Friday night, and welcome on into the Albion Giants League, where all the best gameplay happens, and Friday nights have become the home for it on Smite Game. My name's Mal. I'm joined tonight by Spirited Book. We've got Morty on the ones and twos tonight. I haven't worked with him on production in a while, which makes it extra exciting. And we've got a wild matchup that we're going to break down later. But first, let's start simple and clean. Spirited Book, it's Friday. The weekend is starting. How are the vibes?
Oh, I'm so happy. It's felt like such a long week, Anthony, and I'm just happy to be back casting Smite here on Smite Game. And with you, it's been a hot minute, I feel like, and we've seen a lot of meta changes, I think, since you and I last discussed Smite Game and whatnot. So
yeah, it was a bit of a slow meta game the last time we were running together. Admittedly, we got a little bit stuck. We had some of those long burn games. But what is AGL? First of all, it's a bring your own team amateur league. We're starting to see more of those pop up here in Smite Game. What are they playing for? Well, every Friday you can catch us here on twitch.tv/Smite Game, and this particular division is playing for $3,500 in a cash prize. So make sure you tune in every Friday up until that finals you see in the bottom right of your screen, June 5th. That's where all the big money comes to play and where we'll get to see who walks away with it all. And we might even see some of these teams tonight, because a couple loaded rosters tonight, but not just about the cash prize. AGL itself, there's ways you can support AGL directly. Merch! Look at the merch! I'm wearing a hoodie now that was recently on the store. And of course, this all comes from Sword who created and put together this vision for AGL, and it looks gorgeous. Make sure you scan that QR code now. Use code AGL10 while you're there. You won't regret it. Lots of different options to check out, and awesome merch there. So big thanks to them for making it all happen. Look, while we watch the beautiful merch vanish off our screen, but thankfully it's staying on me, you know, can't show all that for free. The picks and bans will be upon us soon. What's the early stuff that you're looking for in your brain? What should we keep our eyes on? What are the early expectations?
So it is important to note that Ratatasker is in the game, but you and I kind of
will he be played?
Yeah, will he be played is a different conversation. I feel like he is not in the best state right now. So interested to see if maybe it's important to note that we see inbound in the jungle, someone who's not traditionally a jungle player.
Oh, thanks. You already reminded me.
Yeah, I know, right? It's gonna be a long night tonight, Anthony. It could be a long night tonight. But maybe this is something that Bobby goes back towards. Just a traditional kind of Ratatasker, something he's probably played for a very long time. Could just be a comfort thing for him.
I think a big thing too, and as we see the bands start to come out, those are your black and white ones on the sides here. The Nude and the Nuwa. Nuwa, we just saw today on Titan Talk, actually, all these changes that are on the way for Nuwa. It's important to know those aren't quite here yet, so not impacting the Nuwa in the sense of, oh, we don't got to worry about it. She's still very much a god you have to focus on and have to priority ban. So that's off the table. Newt, I mean, we've seen Newt doing well in every form of play. Last night in a game 5 scenario, I watched a Newt go crazy for the Babylon Smite finals. So there's always potential there. Alongside it's going to be the On Her. So a lot of focus towards those kind of backline carry ADC / mid laners for the side of Bob and his builders.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised about the Nuwa ban, in all honesty. I feel like she's kind of fallen off. She got a bit of a aspect rework, but immediately after got hot fixed and a lot of kind of immediate nerfs to a lot of her changes that kind of, I feel like, made her fall off quite a bit. But interestingly enough, Crimson Lions still feel that she could be very prevalent. I think she's best in ADC right now with the way that aspect works, not necessarily in mid. So interesting to see that one taken away. The Pele to me is so interesting though from Crimson Lions. I feel like Pele is being seen a whole lot more in the solo lane, rocking that aspect. Just an unkillable, dive your back line, never let you play the game kind of character. Just does not die right now. And so interested to see that Crimson Lions have banned that one away. Maybe it's an option that they go towards once, after game 1, if they can get that first pick option. So keeping these characters kind of open to them down the road through this series.
I feel like, especially here in a Friday night, we've gotten to the point where all amateur leagues are utilizing the vault ban system. So not entirely a need to explain it every time, but if you are just catching up to it, basically if a god's played, it's no longer going to be available to be played. The bans, however, do not count. So that's always an interesting aspect too of maybe you're trying to keep a character safe, a little bit. I heard a player talking about that not long ago on their stream,
Yep.
which kind of caught me off guard, but it is clever. You're sort of protecting that, keeping it as an option for yourself into game number 3, in this instance being a best of 3 if you go the distance. But our first picks are starting to come in, Book, on the bottom of our screen. We have the Serb locked in first overall, or shout out Kerberos and all the haters of how Musi pronounces it as he's working behind the scenes tonight for AGL. On the other side, the Kabrakan and the Ho Yi. Ho Yi, who, again, if you're just tuning into Smite 2, you'll be shocked to find that Ho Yi now is a pretty significant flex pick and pretty commonly picked in the jungle nowadays.
Yeah, I feel like this is definitely a flex potential here for the Crimson Lions, but I wouldn't be surprised if that one's just going towards Sunprod in the jungle. I feel like he's made this character look very disgusting at times in matchups where I don't feel like he should be winning them, but off of this crazy bounce combo, and he just wins the fight immediately. It's such strong 1v1 potential, and why not, right? Like Hui, for so long, we talk about how this character's fight in the jungle is really good because he has so many bounce spots, but he's always just been stuck in a lane, wide open range lane, where he can't use the full potential of a triple bounce. Now put him in the jungle, let him use that triple bounce ricochet to its full.
The Daji Hecate combination is pretty scary for Bob and his builders, though. I feel like Daji, I want to say I've heard you say this and point this out. People forget it from Smite 1, but even with the changes and additions Daji has experienced in Smite 2 with both +1s and the ultimate itself, Daji still just does one thing really well, and that's get kills for your team. It always reminds me of the Loki. It's always a fair comparison. Hecate is doing one thing really good right now that I've been noticing a lot of, and I'm curious if I'm kind of going at it from the right angle, Book. It seems like Hecate controls space in the mid lane and team fights like nobody else's business.
Yeah, I feel like, and you look at what Crimson Lions have right now, at least in their first 2, it's, you know, you have to be wary of a potential Hecate ult. You're forced to kind of go towards beads, and that's what Bob and his builders have kind of drafted so far. A lot of beads force potential here between the Cerberus, the Daji, the Hecate. Now would like to see it maybe paired alongside high damage dealers, a lot of burst bit damage maybe, where they can force the Crimson Lions to make that age-old decision I've been saying through all of Smite 2. Do you go towards beads or Aegis as your first relic slot?
A lot of debate here. We saw the Aladdin and the Agni, now the Chiron being hovered. Chiron has got to be my favorite pick to watch right now. I know a lot of people are rocking it in mid, understandably, but I feel like it's kind of undervalued in ADC. It seems so disgusting in just any role, the amount of pure damage output it can have, but instead the Artemis is the route chosen, as well as the Achilles. Shout out to Mort, who's running the 1s and 2s tonight in Smite Prime, recently a Gods of Smite 2 video. So with the Achilles on the field, I guess we get to see how accurate that video is too.
Yeah, and I love these 2 picks here. I just mentioned how I would love to see high damage dealers, and both these 2 characters can provide that, but also more CC. The Tusky is going to run through team fights. The traps as well will be efficient. Achilles could just be a beefy frontliner, has access to that stun, but obviously that executes. So a lot of damage here for between these last 2 picks, but also just rounds out very well with this Bob and his builders composition. I love this draft. This feels so good to me. If I'm that Artemis player who's got such a strong front line in front of her, and then 2 damage dealers as well, but also big space controllers. This is a lot of space control for Bob and his builders that allows this Artemis to be so effective in team fights.
Are you surprised by the last pick, Aphrodite? I feel like I've been seeing more and more Aphrodites pop up recently. And what's interesting, and on the topic of my question, Odin not picked or banned. Usually Odin's a first priority target ban away from Sunprod in these instances. So no Odin, and you get the Aphrodite locked in. So a weird combo there. But what are your overall thoughts on it?
I think it makes sense overall in terms of what Bob and his builders have drafted, though we can talk a little more as we get ready here for game 1 between these 2 teams. It's Bob and his builders and Crimson Lions. But I agree. Actually, no, never mind. I don't agree. I thought maybe that was going to be Aphrodite in the mid lane. It's Kabrakan mid for Benny Q.
Kabrakan mid for Benny Q. Aurora takes the Aphrodite into the duo lane. So this is going to be a game where you've got a lot of work to do, Book. I can't say I envy your situation. Over on the side of Bob and his builders, a little bit more traditional, as you can see. With the Daji going jungle, nothing too shocking there. I guess there could have been some discussion with the Achilles, but with John rowing on the board, makes it a little bit easier. You talked already a lot about the Artemis. Well, Bob and his builders are starting this game up looking for destruction on the right-hand side, grouped up, hiding in bushes, but will they have an opportunity to get any picks? Doesn't quite seem so.
No, I don't think they will. I feel like a lot of teams are starting to get an idea that there's a lot of level 1 shenanigans happening in Smite 2 right now. And so you can see all of Crimson Lines, especially because they don't have the best level 1 fight potential. The Hui Ricochet is decent, sure, but everyone else kind of just wants to sit back and farm for a little bit and get some items online, especially this Kabrak in mid, who I feel like can be aggressive, especially in the lane, can really punish King Oceans. And look where Benny Q is. I feel like he's going to proxy the wave here, level 1, and just deny this kind of weird trade we often see in the mid lane between both mid mages. Instead, it's no, the aspect. So instead, he is kind of proxying a little bit.
Oh, I had to let him get his point out, but my goodness, maybe I shouldn't have let him get his point across. Thanks, Kabraken, for the insight. But I was with it. I thought maybe Benny Q was just trying to throw some of the wave off, but instead a bit of a light one. Does still push King Oceans away, though, so maybe it does work out, because that could have been a little bit more dangerous for Benny Q, depending how it had gone.
Yeah, so this is an interesting idea Benny Q is going for. So it is aspect, so it is kind of that, you know, the fat Loki, as we mentioned, plays a lot like Loki, just a little tankier at times, but doesn't have as strong, you know, mobility potential as the Loki traditionally does in the jungle. But this kind of is a little reminiscent of the Pele mids we've seen in the past, the Aladdin mids, where it's an assassin in the mid lane. Interesting to see how Benny Q is going to pilot it going into the mid late game. Is this going to be just another dud kind of pick, as we see a lot more mages in the mid lane now over the assassins, as Benny Q does have potential invade here as he's looking at Dafty Duck?
Already took some farm away too by the time King Oceans have begun to rotate, so will hurt the farm of the Daji a little bit, who is a character we'd have to pay attention on, not just because of the pilot behind it, playing in a role that, you know, maybe if you've watched a lot of competitive Smite over the years, you're not used to seeing Inbound play in the jungle. I know I'm not, but still, the character itself is worth noting, because if the Daji can get rolling, things can get frightening. Mid camp, contest, already down. Won't be time for the Daji to get there and get involved.
No, Daji just hovering this left-hand side. Actually, Bobby trying to force a potential gank here. He's looking for Bayro and Aurora on the left-hand side.
And you can kind of see the split mid lane too, but now the Daji getting aggressive, does get that dash forward in the left side, looking for the killer in the tower, and will find it. Dafty Duck with the first blood. I think Inbound heard I was talking smack in the booth and decided to make a play early. Gets the first blood, dives under the tower. You could see on the map that usage of the 3 to get that distance closed, and to do that this early in the game is ambitious, but it pays off.
Yeah, but already Sunprod invading the enemy jungle, just finding a little bit of extra farm where he can. And he's already set up here to take this first round of the elementals on the right-hand side, the Firebrands. Though Inbound is going in, the triple bounce off the mark.
Kind of the spot you want to fight in if you're a Hou Yi, is in the jungle in an angle, but Dafty Duck on the chase just simply ignores the Yorm, and Dafty getting hands on. Inbound looking for the pick early, gets the spin around, takes out Dishonored, and looks at Sunprod too. Heck of a fight. Inbound starting the game off strong, 2-0. All the kills for Bob and his builders looking to catch up. Sunprod jumps in, stun good, autos no good so far. John Rowing's here to play the body block. Inbound goes in and brings him down. Killing spree for Inbound.
3 kills already. Benny Q on the way though, trying to find this cleanup kill. He has ultimate. Is he gonna go for it?
Here we go. Bop! Do you get him? The slam is off the mark. Benny Q will not find it. Now you're low too, and the Achilles is here with eyes on. The dash forward from John Rowing.
Good knockout.
Can't quite close the gap, and ultimate is not online. Had the ult been online, that's probably a free kill. But John Rowing still getting the dance around. Now rotation out from King Oceans. This Hecate trying to keep the fight on. Few minions die. Maybe you get ult. There it is. Ult on for the Achilles. But it looks like too little, too late.
These Firebrands are available.
Tempo's dead.
Who's here first? Oh, Tempo. Left-hand side?
Donut Tug, you know, Buck, I'll go to you. I'll defer to you on this one, inside the mind of an ADC. Your support's dying in lane and your purple buff is up. I mean, what else is there to do, right? I mean, you can help.
Yeah. Look, I love that at the very least Tempo has said, yeah, I'm going to give all my farm to Donut Doug. As Benny Q dead in his own jungle?
Inbound just cannot stop picking up bodies. That's the 4th kill now in the jungle. And getting aggressive in the jungle. Sunprod's here, but look around the corner. King Oceans is lurking. Ultimate not quite online for the Hecate, but I don't think Inbound cares. Up to avoid the Suns. Jump away, chain still on. There's the beads. It might be late. The damage, the bleed, it's done. Another kill, an early rampage for Inbound. The Aegis well timed to avoid the damage from Dishonored. Now the bleed is on. Inbound still standing. He'll get him. Double kill for Inbound. BennyQ finally puts an end to the nonsense from Inbound, but not before the damage is done. 6 kills before the 5-minute mark for the jungler of the blue side.
Inbound has all 6 kills for his team right now. He is swinging. It is a big shutdown that does go the way of BennyQ. And if Benny is going to lean on a full damage build on this Kabrakan, that is something to note at the very least. But man, Inbound just driving the pace of this game already. Has that first item completed, and he's looking to just keep this pace going. The Pendulum Blade. I love this pickup just because he wants to keep fighting. He wants to keep scrapping early and keep looking for plays, and this is an item that can let him do exactly that.
The weird thing too that I've been thinking about, usually we talk about when a jungler gets that far ahead, how dangerous it is because of the bounty gold on the head of the jungler. Well, that's already kind of been dealt with, but it got dealt with earlier in the onslaught, but you still have the benefit of being ahead. It's almost weirdly better than had that happened 3 or 4 kills from now or 4 to 5 minutes from now.
Yeah. It could only have gotten scarier if Inbound got more and more kills, because that gold, bounty, as you mentioned, just keeps growing. And so already getting rid of that, I like the idea. Do want to note, though, that is, despite it being 6-1, Sunprod is fairly even with him. Maybe a little behind in terms of gold, but the experience lead isn't really there. It's barely a level between these two junglers, and it's going to be evened out as Sunprod and Dishonored are going to get these firebrands.
I worry about that a lot for Bob and his builders. The score has been kept mostly even. The kills still look great, but they've been all in jungle, and there's some frightening things going on the board. I look at the Kabrakan, who already level 8, by the way, beating out the lane opponent. Solo lane fight, 2v2. Daji just still doing significant damage. There's a jump away from the Ho Yi. The Yorm wisely using the knockback to separate the two from chasing out the Ho Yi, and Dishonored should be okay to escape under the tower. So well played by the red side in the duo lane.
But do they secure their own blue buff? I believe they do here for the Crimson Lions. Bobby not able to steal that one away.
No.
Sunprod, though, could have caught lazy backing. Goes back in.
Up, down. No stun. Yes, stun. Gets the stun under the tower, but Bobby's able to get it. Instantly pops the Aegis and Inbound with a kill under the tower. But look who's here. It's your nightmare. It's Fat Loki putting his rolls around, but Bobby rolls away. Daffy Duck lives to see another day.
BennyQ trying to get the ultimate off, but can't get it off over the wall. Tempo invading the red buff, but BennyQ arrives.
BennyQ does so much damage on this Kabrakan, which is kind of what I was starting to get at before. I worry you do all this, but with your so far main instigator and seemingly the main source of how your team's going to function early being this Daji, Kabrakan can shut down a Daji pretty hard, especially with this particular build and decisions coming from BennyQ, right?
Oh, King Ocean's taking a ton of damage, gets bounced.
And the Suns will seal the deal. The lights go out for King Oceans.
Yeah, that is kind of the issue with Hecate, I think, right now, is this character sometimes could just die when there's no tools around her to keep herself, alive in fights like this. Yeah, you have Cerberus who can frontline effectively, but Cerberus not, known for his peel, not like the Aphrodite on the other side, who can just pocket peel someone. It's just moments like that, King Oceans could just get caught out and fall apart real fast.
I feel like Tempo also has been trying to make some plays happen, but you look at the board and you see a level 9 for the Aphrodite, which is obviously a positive sign for the Crimson Lions. Sunprod just caught an Inbound going for the rundown. There's the Powwow. Can you find it? The jump down instantly. Sunprod still alive, if not barely, in front of our face.
Benny.
Tempo gets through the wall with the shell, gets the jump over the wall and away in time. That left Daffy Duck alone, and Daffy Duck is quacking no more. A big pickup for Baron Airy off the ultimate.
Yeah, Barrow with that ultimate. That is something we haven't really talked about. This Apollo can get involved in these fights a lot easier than the Artemis in this early game. Can rotate over to little fights like that and already making that impact happen. That is a tough one for Inbound. Goes way too deep there. Tries to get the kill, and yeah, he's feeling himself, but drops that kill, gives Sunprod an avenue to suddenly get a level lead over the likes of this Daji.
Weird.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you look at the other side and you're like, oh, 6-1. This Daji's just if it's feeling like an ex-SPL player is going to run the pace of this game, he's just going to walk all over the opponents, and then Sunprod, a couple of kills here and there, don't really go inbound's way. He gets caught out. And all of a sudden, the lead's back in the hands of the Crimson Lions. And honestly, it comes back to me, these Firebrand pickups that they've consistently been on top of.
True, and you called that early. Now around a 700 gold lead, despite the kills, as we've talked about. And I feel like at some point, there is some action brewing in the mid lane we got to keep our eyes on. I do want to talk items, because there's some interesting choices I'm sure you've noticed too. Not to mention, we have a lot of out of the ordinary this game, like the Cabracket in the mid. What are you seeing that's got your eye?
Staff of Mirrodin second here for Benny Q. I'm kind of curious to see if he's going to use it as a means to, go all in and drop a couple of those, fadeaway shots. As we see duo lane here.
You see him bound on the chase. Baronary, so much damage. My goodness, those basics are hidden like a truck. Now at a wall, and the truck should ram right on through. Maybe not. Donut Doug using the speed to get away. No chase down from the Crimson Lions just yet, but they do still see the Artemis, and it's still sights on. Benny, Fat Loki moment, perhaps? Are we chasing all the way? No, we're not. Wise call, especially with Tempo still back there.
Yeah, Tempo could be a free pick here. Gets stunned in place. Good shell, though, but still getting dove into the tower.
Okay, sure. Why not? The Ho-Yi jungle, am I right? Chasing under the tower gets the instant kill. This could set up the Gold Fury, but you can't take too much poke, of course. There's the Hekate ult. It'll hit everybody, and Oceans will get away. Does that poke set up a return fight for Bob and the Builders? You can see the collapse already there. Benny Q, the main target. Benny Q is going to die. Oceans with the dunk on his head to get the double now, with Sunprod falling too. Bob and his Builders off the back of one great ultimate from King Oceans find the poke. Now they're finding the fight too around the gold.
Yeah, I feel like that was just way too deep there from the Crimson Lions. Yeah, you get the 2 picks, it's great, but then it's just King Oceans, man. It's just a Hekate on his own.
And Gold Fury goes to Bob and his Builders, despite the attempt from Crimson Lions. Barrow's in the air, but Dishonored's already dead. Make it a double as when Barrow lands. Donut Doug was waiting there. And, we were just giving credit to Crimson Lions. It felt like this game was just starting to be almost ripped away from Bob and the Builders. But that's why they're the Builders, right? They follow Bob, they build things up, and they built off of a great play from Oceans deep in their own jungle. Essentially a 1v5. The ultimate was enough. That poke gets followed up on. Now you've got a Gold Fury. You've got the lead. You have the tempo advantage for sure.
Yeah, you're feeling good here if you're Bob and his Builders. I mean, you just got the gold. You just got big shutdowns on the other side. And even afterwards, I feel like a few members, Baronary goes in there with that ultimate, trying to clean up some members after the gold is already taken, and just takes a spill. Just unfortunate for the Apollo player that can't really dive this backline on his own, really needs help, with his team. Has gone for this AA build, which I don't mind, sure, but I feel like lately we've been seeing a lot more of the Devourer's Gauntlets, a lot more of kind of crit flavored in, and I feel like Apollo, why not go towards some crit this game? Why not lean on some crit while you're diving the back line just to one-shot this Artemis or this Hekate? These are characters that just need to die to allow the fight to go a lot smoother for the Lions.
Good catch, Mort, there on the Sunprod pathing. This Ho-Yi looking for the cutoff already on the low side of the map. The Suns come out first. Now the CC, an instant A gets popped by the Artemis. The speed is a differential, but the up down for the knockup. The damage is good, and the ricochet seals the deal as Doug will fall. Now attention on to tempo, but meanwhile, inbound just killed Benny Q behind the tier 2. So it'll be a double for Sunprod in the duo lane, and it'll be a hurt to the ego, I think, in the mid lane.
Yeah, for sure. A nice little CC chain there between the duo lane and Sunprod. Aurora lands the kiss, and then they're waiting, and then Sunprod uses the ricochet, gets a little double bounce there, takes down tempo. So at the very least, there is a lane that the Lions could kind of lean on here. This left-hand side duo lane, Bayro kind of starting to get some of the items online in a pretty okay spot, a little bit behind to Doug, but that should even out in the next couple waves. But I feel like Doug is feeling pretty happy right now as an Artemis. Has that first item completed, now has the Demon Blade, so has some crit flavored in. And we mentioned, Artemis is the carry player here, as Sunprod looking for a play on John.
Is this an ambitious fight, though, you wonder, with other members around for Bob and his Builders? Look at that damage turnaround from John rowing the Wind Sprite, thankfully. for Sunprod. The jump was available. Ocean's left behind, though. Now the Yorm, the Snake, chasing down to follow up on the Fat Loki. Benny Q with the final hit on the King Oceans. Now the rest of Crimson Lions, they feel good about this fight, and they want more, but John Rowling will go into the back line, sees a low Benny Q, does have that ultimate available, too. Don't forget that as this fight progresses. Stun, good. Now the ult followed up on by Tempo, but a nice purification to help get Benny Q to safety.
Yeah, Sunprod is back in full HP, looking for a play. Doesn't have ultimate, but can he land the ricochet?
No, just out of range. John Rowling escapes, and good stun on Tempo. My goodness, the fadeaway spit to stun 2 might just be enough to slow down the fight. Duo lane, is that a 1v1? I see the Apollo about to drop down on the head of the Artemis. It looks like it will be, but Doug will split the gap there. Not really interested in fully committing to a 1v1 despite the ult there.
Yeah, I feel like Barrow doesn't want to necessarily take these fights right now. Doug with a bit of crit in the build makes him kind of scary to box right now. Has to be very careful of these all-in potentials. But Barrow's beads were pulled, which means when that Artemis ult is going to be back up, I feel like Doug is going to feel really comfortable going for another 1v1 potential.
I feel like the pace is picked up significantly so. 15.5 minutes, now 12-9. Gold back to even despite a short bit for Bob and his builders being in the lead, as you can see from the charts. No ults indeed, but an early ult from Rowing will not matter. Will not matter. Inbound gets the kill on Dishonored, aka Dafty Duck, with another in his pocket. Queen Naga is available as the lights have gone out.
Yeah, that is a tough one for the Lions. You're gonna have to give up this Queen Naga here. At the very least, gold is available, but look at this, Aurora's on the way. It feels like they're not going to go and commit to the left-hand side objective.
Yeah, there's the drop already. Gold Fury should just simply be free for the Crimson Lions. Bob and his builders will go in the chase. You can see Tempo holding aggro of this Queen Naga, but maybe has to go help the team as Inbound's almost dead. The chain does connect. The Powwow will help find a kill as Aurora falls. John Rowing with the credit.
Doug in left.
But this has gotten messy. Left lane, Donut Doug for the contest. How is Doug contesting this? The Gold Fury below half, but Donut Doug is backing up the 2 other ADCs. A 1v2 that they don't want to take. They'll let the Gold Fury go. Bob and his builders will get the Queen Naga on the right-hand side. How did that go well for Bob and his builders through all that? What just happened?
I mean, there's just no secure really outside of a crazy ricochet for Sunprod to really secure that Gold Fury. And Barrow doesn't have beads, doesn't feel comfortable just standing there tanking the objective in front of Donut Doug. Can really get all in here by the Artemis. And yeah, it's just a tough situation for the Lions where their soul laner gets picked in right. So that's a free Naga there in around the objective.
Oh, no.
There's a ton of damage.
Yeah, Doug got a little bit crazy there, tried to get a little whimsy. Now Barrow takes up to the sky. Bob and his builders looking to collapse on the capture point. Barrow, land down, Doug, target, Doug dead, but John Rowling responds and handles a roar. Can the rest of the builders regroup and start bringing bodies down alongside it? You see the stun, the damage on Benny. Barrow's gonna fall. A wall to try to shut away the rest of the builders from chasing out the Cabrakan. Will do some damage for now and slow things down. But look at the TKOs on Benny Q and Sunprod on top of the 2-for-1 already. Bob and his builders stand tall at the end of the fight.
Man, I'm not even sure what happened at the end of that fight there. It looked like it was all going towards the Lions, and then all of a sudden Bob and his builders just get caught, or sorry, they catch out the side of the Lions and just end up taking them down to the point where they're so low they find Barrow, and
he's dead.
Sunprod
is dead. So dead. Killing spree number 2 for Inbound. Dafty Duck is really swinging this game on the Daji. Goes over to Pyro with the rest of the squad, and it should be completed. Couple members close, not going to be in time. Pyromancer goes to the blue side.
Dude, Bobby just looks so comfortable right now on this pick. I feel like this is what he needed to do. Go towards that kind of classic Smite 1 character and just be comfortable, and is already doing a phenomenal job here. And Sunprod, I feel like really struggling, is finding moments where he can kind of go for those highlight triple bounces in the jungle, sure, but definitely not the same level of performance I feel like we're used to seeing out of this young player.
I feel like, slash lines don't tell everything, but a 5-5 slash line on a Loki or a Thanatos would feel a little bit better than on a Ho Yi. Aurora would feel a little bit better at a hospital at the moment, but gets brought up to the air and airlifted to the blue side. They put him in the dirt, followed up on Baronary. At least the dual lane will be resting forever together. Bob and his builders with a strong establishment in the mid lane that Crimson Lions just cannot break down. Maybe the Yorm. Is that the answer? The rest of the squad is slow to it. Benny Q on the way. The blink, the ult, but King Oceans is caught. Good pickup there from Benny Q, thanking the aspect for existing.
Yeah, nice play there from Benny Q. They're still fighting here. Dishonored, unkillable, finds Doug.
The sun certainly helped. Now Daphne Duck cannot get away. The up down from Sunprod for the shutdown as well. Benny Q, the new target. John Rowing collapsing with tempo as Sunprod is going on a journey away. This will be a dead Benny Q more than likely, just a matter of time.
Yeah, eventually. And, you know, John Rowing doesn't even have to commit the ultimate there, but Crimson Lions, they're finding windows. And honestly, that's off the back of Dishonored, diving onto King Oceans, onto Donut Doug. Finally, the show up there from Benny Q, late to the party, but still makes an impactful play there. Nice little moment between those two players. And
look at this, look at this.
Oh, Barrow.
It's the squad. It's an Uber lift. It's the combo. But the stun! No way. We take an Uber to that. We still can't kill him. Finally, tempo goes down.
They get him. They get him.
That was so funny.
5 stars on Uber for that one. That was a nice play there. Yeah. Well done, Barrow.
It's like when you're really, really messed up and you try to convince your Uber driver to stop by the McDonald's on the way home. They never did it for me.
Yeah. Is that what happened there? Is that what happened there to me?
Yeah.
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 Right. I wouldn't know. I've never really been. I'm not an Uber knower. You know, I don't use Uber too often personally.
I'm actually more of a Lyft person myself. You know, hashtag not an ad.
I have a driver's license. That's also very helpful.
I mean, I have that too, but like that's fair. You know, there's the stories along that are just like, oh, I got cut off on the highway today. They're not as interesting as this guy was yapping my ear off.
That's fair. A fair statement. And you can't 5-star review your own driver's license, as Donut Doug looking here.
I was gonna say we could review the fight that's about to break down. Inbound to the sky, but can't quite lock everything down. And you can see Bob and his builders thought about it, and they're still going to think about it, by the way, because these are the kind of fights that keep happening. They start up, they sputter a little bit, then Bob and his builders just kind of make something out of nothing. This time, they get a tier 1 and left.
Yeah, and it's fine. I mean, look at this Dishonored split pushing. I would like to see Bob and his builders pull the gold soon. I feel like this is why they're grouping here, but instead, they're just going to send inbound to the right-hand side to cover the wave. We do see a scrap here in mid, though, onto Oceans.
Oceans is very caught, but the ult is there, but nowhere to go. Benny Q shuts down Oceans, hidden like a truck. We talked about that. As soon as you could get late, the fat Loki would come online. The Suns do slow down the dog. The worm on the chase gets the knock up, but they turn away, try to regroup as Bob and his builders will look to collapse and make the fight happen. Meanwhile, the other 2 members of the red jerseys, they're on the gold fear, and it should be free. John Rowing might be free too. My goodness, the CC is real strong. Sunprod, the focus for Daphne Duck. The blink followed up on by Tempo. We're wind spriting, but we're not going the right direction. Tempo now gets caught alone. Tempo,
they're on the way.
Ball, but a good reaction there from inbound. We'll find one in response. It's going to be Sunprod, but now Barrow with the ult. That book called out. They land down, but Bob and his builders are still the ones standing tall, but finally a trade back. Make it another double for inbound. Benny adds to the pile. Down goes Daphne Duck. Aurora will combine with Benny. The chase on John Rowing. Nowhere to go. Double for Benny Q. Everybody gets a double. It's going to be a 3 for 4. Crimson Lions finally standing tall.
No DSI though, because finally King Oceans has respawned. And actually, King Oceans could find 2 low health bars here on the way to the gold, but no. Instead, just gonna have to chill out here, not really force and defend his own speed. Man, what a crazy, just elongated fight there. It starts off the back of, you know, Barrow and Aurora, they're going to do the Gold Fury, while the other 3 members, they take down King Oceans and then look for Tempo in his own jungle. They can't find the 3-headed dog, and then they have to get out because of the big collapse there from Bob and his builders. A nice little moment there between Dishonored and Sunprod. The Yorm knock-up onto John Rowing into a triple bounce from Sunprod was very nice. That was a cute little play there. But I mean, it just all falls apart when Baronary and Aurora show up late to the party with the Apollo ultimate. Remember, Apollo can bring up one of his team members to the party and makes the impact there. So unfortunate there for Bob and his builders. But do you want to note, though, John Rowing doing a lot of work in these fights, being just in the faces of the back line of the Lions, lived so long despite, you know, taking so much damage from that triple bounce from Sunprod, is still making such an impact with his health bar, with his damage. His CC has been impactful with his stuns, doing so much work here for the Bob and his builders.
Messy fights this game, a lot of action, and it's only 24 minutes in. 24 kills as well for Bob and his builders. Thank you, Mort, for showing the charts right on cue. Yeah, 2K gold lead. It does not feel like it. It really doesn't. Same thing with the experience lead, really. But for 25 minutes approaching, about as wild of a game as you can hope for on a Friday night. One Gold Fury apiece. Fire Giant has not really been a topic yet. We've been too busy just straight up throwing hands. That's been the topic at hand for both teams to discuss. The Daji was strong very early. Obviously, the Kabrakan coming online the later we go. A lot of poke there on tempo to just help me prove my point, I guess.
That's Soul Reaver and Totem of Death there. Just both of those items proccing well together on a frontliner like Tempo is going to shred him down, but he's already healing back up. And Bob and his builders, they feel comfortable pulling this objective. I'm not so certain they should feel comfortable, though.
Looks like already a powwow use potentially. Yes, it was by inbound. So big ultimate down for a potentially ensuing Fire Giant fight. You see the stuns. John Rowing is in deep. Tempo already poked out for this fight. Now same thing for the Achilles. The Crimson Lions, they look like they want to find an opening, but the Stampede away, but the poke continues to follow. Now the Crimson Lions want to step up. Book, do they have an opening?
I feel like they can. They're just looking to gain pit control right now, and then they'll turn their eyes towards the objective. They can look towards mid, though, and that is where their eyes are going to turn towards. Get the Moonlight Ritual. Why not? Use the minion pressure and then look to force the Fire Giant that way with minions sieging in all three lanes. I like this idea for the Lions. Instead, just get the kind of neutral objective that's a little easier to take than the Fire Giant in a full 5-on-5.
And, you know, credit where it's due about the disengage from Bob and his builders. I feel like we see a lot of teams, Smite Prime, OSL, AGL, you name it, that get in a similar situation. But once they have their poked out frontliners, they almost get caught asleep at the wheel and things really start to spiral at the Fire Giant fight. To only lose Moonlight's favor, sure, it's very scary, especially with the reveal bonus, considering Fire Giant's up. It still could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, could have been 20 seconds, though, on Tempo Stampede, I think, is impactful. Is there a window here for Crimson Lions to take advantage of?
John Rowing, real deep. Sun Prod will go away, however. So Crimson Lions will regroup. They have the advantage positionally. A Scepter of Dominion. That's going to catch one. Whoa. Is there a play to follow up? Not quite. Instead, the Crimson Lions find themselves actually on the retreat to the Fire Giant pit, and Bob and his builders looking for the hunt. Do they slow it down? No, they go in aggressive. Inbound going to lead the way. Takes the ultimate up, followed up on. It's a wombo combo. Do you have the kills to follow it up? Where's the wombo on the kills? None so far. Inbound still on the hunt. Dude's going to chase in the Kingdom Come. But Daffy Duck can't find any picks. When you return back to the squad, though, you might just lose one. King Oceans barely gets away. Inbound still throwing, this time with John Rowing in the 1v2, but Baron Aries going to get the auto to bring him down. John Rowing will return it to take out the Apollo. Now you've got to group up. Bob and his builders are here. They're going towards that right lane. They have a fully healthy Achilles and an Artemis who's still shooting. But Donna Doug is brought down, so one less shooter for the builders. And Sun Prod is there doing just that in response.
The nice bounce there, and they're going to be able to chase down John Rowing, surely, but maybe not. He's just so tanky right now, Anthony.
Tempo can't step up to help despite how bad he wants to. John Rowing just gotta fight his demons. Tempo looking to step back up to help, but there's just nothing to do. John Rowing will tank as long as he can tank, but even the mightiest warriors have to fall someday. John Rowing is the one this time. That's 3 dead in total for Bob and his builders. Crimson Lions fight back. That stun hits and the kiss of death from a roar onto Tempo. Now Ocean's caught between a rock and a hard place and a killing spree for Sun Prod. And somehow through that, I get to say it was a deicide on Bob and his builders.
But just for a moment, Anthony, and all the while you can see Daffy Duck not going to go towards the Fire Giant to contest at all. Maybe he doesn't realize that they're going to go towards it. They have an ADC still alive. No, this is a call from Bob. And I feel like this was contestable. I feel like this was super contestable, though maybe not now that Baron Aries arrived with the ultimate instead.
I guess that was the call, maybe just being aware of the Apollo ultimate itself, but it will fall down. Looks like there will be no contest. Donut Doug and everybody will sit on their map. Fire Giant falls. The Crimson Lions have the belt on. The dagger goes in the pocket of Sun Prod. And considering the amount of fighting that Sun Prod's been involved in, I think that checks out. I do want to call back to something you pointed out before we kind of go into our post-Fire Giant recap book. You talked about the Soul Reaver for the Kabrakan. It's ironic. It reminds me of the when Loki first was getting really strong in Smite 2 and utilizing that Soul Reaver nonstop. It's sort of funny when you think about it that way.
Yeah, just the percent poke damage from a distance. It's a nice look there for Benny Q, especially on this character. And he's been doing a good job of playing that kind of, you know, ranged assassin playstyle where he's poking from a distance and then going for an all-in onto a backliner. And he's got the damage to do it to both, you know, carries as well as frontliners now. This Reaver and Totem of Death now paired alongside the Obsidian Shard as well. Just a ton of damage on this character right now. And he's 6'4" and 10. Like, he's done a good job damage wise, but also just being involved in fights. And do want to give a shout out to Sun Prodigies as well, who stepped up the KDA. We mentioned earlier it was 5 and 5. Yeah, now 10 and 6, died one time, but got 5 more kills.
Right side of the map inbound, and the builders looking to dismantle a tower. Potentially, the minion wave will get pushed up and Artemis will be there. But they have to go back to defend against the Crimson Lions, who are looking to begin a siege onto the left side Phoenix. Is there an answer in time? Tempo already taking some poke. As the rest of the builders arrive, the tier 2 does not fall to Artemis as well. Artemis will back with the rest of the squad to defend the Phoenixes. Look at the poke on it. It's already below half health. Hecate ultimate utilized, nothing gained. Inbound almost died trying to take on Benny Q as well. So just a tough workout on the defense. Phoenix is still standing, but it's slim pickings so far for Bob and his builders.
Oh, Benny Q goes in looking for inbound there, takes him very low, but Benny Q doesn't have beats, so can't fully commit.
The sustain is coming through massive right now from that fire giant. Bob and his builders are doing what they can to slow things down. The scepter isn't a chance to walk up.
No.
But the chance might have been missed. The Crimson Lions cannot capitalize on an opening. They try again. Up to the Phoenix, 1k health, minion wave on the way. Look at the step up from John Rowing to try to play linebacker on this defense. So when the minions are there, that Phoenix is good as dead. Inbound has gone deep in the mid lane, so could look to make a play happen, but instead, Bob and his builders will concede the left Phoenix and just hope that that's where it stops for now.
Well, King Oceans has to be careful that he doesn't get all in there by the Kabrakan, who's swinging heavy right now. Instead, they'll siege mid.
Where do we go next? Where do we go next? You can see a lot online, but it's just too late. Benny is dead, though. Shut down for King Oceans. I'm looking at the Artemis, who's got the blink online, but certainly no Tusky. There's the blink. Dagger utilized. Baronary dead. Now looking at Sunprod, who just used that dagger to get the jump away. Aurora stuck in the mid lane. The kiss for the stun won't matter in the end. Donut Dog is hidden too damn hard. Double kill for the Artemis. Next up, Dishonored around the back. It looks like Sunprod's looking for a way in. Takes the fight. Aegis, though, slows it down, and John Rowling makes him pay. It's a shutdown onto Sunprod. Dishonored, the last one to stand. Doug did die out to a final kiss of death from Aurora. So the Crimson Lions lose 4 members on the siege. And I feel like you have to look at the damage from Doug as the reason Bob and his builders are still in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, credit to Aurora finding that kill. If Doug doesn't die, Bob and his builders, they have a chance to run it down mid in that moment, take at least, you know, the tier 1, the tier 2 as well, maybe look for a Phoenix here. Pyromancer as well could go their way. Instead, they're just going to have to sit on their hands for a bit, find some farm here or there. That could have been a lot worse there for the Crimson Lions. And a beautiful Aegis as well from King Oceans to kind of bait Sunprod into the all-in that moment. Is able to just Aegis out that ricochet damage. So a nice little look there. Crimson Lions, they do get 2 birds, though, and that is important to note, especially that left-hand side bird being down at a delayed time to where Fire Giant will be up first for a while before that left-hand side Phoenix respawns. So Bob and his builders, if they want to contest this next Fire Giant, they'll have to do a lot of homework on the left-hand side, clear out some waves before they can look to aggress.
I feel like it's amazing what something as simple as a blink pickup can do, and that's what happened there for Doug. It didn't even have Tusky online, just the blink and the ability to reposition so quickly was so much unexpected damage. For the Crimson Lions, they didn't really seem to know what to do with it. Before this next fight, it begs the question, look, with blink potentially online for it and Tusky, is that the obvious play we're looking for from Bob and his builders?
It could be, but not necessarily. I like this identity that's kind of shifted here for Smite 2 and the carries going towards these late blinks where it's just, you know, a form of a dash to either be aggressive or play defensive. As speaking of playing aggressive here, Crimson Lions, they're looking for an avenue.
Dishonored leading the way, does turn. John Rowling has played an amazing front
Inbound.
line as wow, the ricochet goes through. Here we go. Blinking Abyss used. Hikatsu ultimate as well. Look at the Scepter, though, to slow down the damage on the Sunprod, who gets the jump away and escapes for the time being. But not a lot of options on where to go. King Oceans knows where that jungler is. The fight is spread. The damage is plenty. A Suns to separate Oceans. That gives Sunprod an avenue back in to help out the rest of the squad. To the left-hand side of the fight, you see the damage on the inbound. He might just fall. He tries to escape to the mid lane, but the Yorm is on the hunt. Inbound's got nowhere to go, but while this has been happening, they catch up to Dishonored. He goes down in the Fire Giant pit. All hell is breaking loose, and John Rowing is a demon incarnate from it. They couldn't even handle the Achilles. All of the Crimson Lions run with their tail between their legs. What a fight for Bob and his builders.
That's huge for Bob and his builders. They can now send inbound to the left-hand side, clear out those fire waves, and then contest and maybe even look to pull this EFG for themselves. A nice, it's just unfortunate there. Sunprod doesn't respect where inbound is on the map at that moment. Was flanking from the mid lane, and then a beautiful ultimate there from King Oceans catches out Sunprod's Hui there. And yeah, you mentioned it. A Scepter play there does delay the damage. Benny goes in.
Oh my god! The Suns again! Oh! A pixel escape! Don't matter! Baronary! The audacity of Baronary to bring down King Oceans in that way. But the Crimson Lions group up. They got another on top of it. John Rowing looking to make that hero play. Is the demon still there? No! Benny Q slams the door shut and slams John Rowing down with the help of a roar. And just like that, the turns have tabled. 3 are dead for Bob and his builders.
No way that's how this game ends there, where King Oceans is just barely able to survive off of a nice little blink play there, and then Crimson Lions go all in. Pharaoh picking up that
Tusky
blink.
available.
I don't know. It's tough here. Doug has damage. He's got the crit. I mean, Sunprod has to die. So does Benny.
On to the Titan. Go the Crimson Lions.
Nope.
The Scepter! The 5,000 IQ play, but the pull to bring Benny Q down. You still have crits and Tusky. The Titan is beginning to fall, but the fight is still on. Bob and his builders fighting to stay alive. 1K on the Titan, but Dishonored might just be too tanky. And he is. The Crimson Lions get the game from Bob and his builders, but my goodness, did it look like Bob and his builders had a way to bring things down. That was so excited. They got the jersey standing up to clap and celebrate. What an end to game number 1.
Hui passive, I think, just saved that play because Doug was pumping autos there, but Hui passive, he can only be crit one time for a brief period of moments, and then just is able to clear out the damage on those Titan there. Donut Doug just didn't have it, and honestly, that Scepter of Dominion moment looked a little scary as well until it caught the front line in that moment as well. It caught themselves in the Scepter proc, and so that was spooky, but a great game 1 there for the Bob and for Crimson Lions, where they looked out of it, then they looked back in it, then they looked out of it, and then finally found their way back into it.
I feel like it was back and forth in the most traditional sense, but where things started making those twists and turns, so much of it was the jungle, and so much was the unsung heroes, the John Rowing frontlining. Of course, worth mentioning the plays we saw from Donut Dog. I really thought that if the Scepter of Dominion hadn't slowed down Donut Doug with Tusky available and the blink, with how much damage they were able to get across, they being, of course, Bob and his builders, had that Scepter not gone off, I wonder how differently that defense goes. To your point as well, the Ho Yi passive certainly helps, but there's so many unanswered questions which prove the value of the pickup of the Scepter.
Yeah, I mean, there was certainly an avenue there for the defense to come through there, and look at the player damage from Doug. But I mean, do you want to give a shout out to Benny Q, man, on this Kabrakan mid? 6-6 and 13, not the most glorious of score lines, but 61k player damage has got to feel pretty good on a character that's, I would say, not normally played traditionally in the mid lane.
Pretty significant indeed, but it makes you wonder. If that was game number 1, what could game 2 have in store? Well, good news for you. I have an answer. We're going to take a quick little break, and after these messages, we'll circle back here. Game number 2 between the Crimson Lions and Bob and his builders. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Albion Giants League. My name's Mal, joined still by Spirited Book. The Morton Man is on the ones and twos, pressing the cash money like he's at a cash register. And the games continue. Bob and his builders go down 1-0 to Crimson Lions, and now their backs against the walls. We continue on through our season of AGL. Week number 3 is where you can maybe turn things around and regain. And Book, I feel like Bob and his builders, as we get in picks and bans, they definitely have some strengths they can lean on from the first game.
Yeah, and I feel like the draft, you're feeling pretty comfortable. Obviously, Bob and his builders lost the game 1. They get to choose which pick they want. They again elect for first pick. And I love this idea. I don't feel like the drafts really dictated the outcome of the game too much. I feel like both teams had clear avenues into the game, had clear avenues to win. I think it's more of the on-field stuff that Bob and his builders have to fix up. I would like to see them go back to a similar style, though, where it's just kind of easy to execute plays. John rowing in their face, and that allows our back line to just kind of do what they want. Maybe putting King Oceans on a much safer pick might be in the cards, though, I feel like, because I feel like that's where a lot of these fights started to really struggle for Bob and his builders, was King Oceans getting caught out in the late game.
I agree. Only thing that sucks about that combination is it does feel like the Hekate's positioning ability and the ultimate in particular were also one of the bigger avenues that Bob and his builders were finding into fights. You obviously can't have that again because of the vault bands, which are underneath our cameras here on your screen in black and white, with the bands on the side of your screens in black and white. But where do you go then instead, Book? Like what picks come to your mind when you are thinking safety for a mid laner?
I feel like Merlin is still pretty effective right now. Obviously an on-command short range, but still very effective dash is still really good. And I feel like Merlin still just brings a lot of damage to the table. I'm kind of surprised we don't see him as much as we used to. I understand that he received some nerfs. Some of his items got nerfed as well, but I feel like he could still be a very effective kind of damage output here in these kind of games.
The Newt and the MLF are the first 2 lock-ins for game number 2. The MLF, notably, I believe the Newt was too, actually. Both were banned away in game number 1 very early on and by Bob and his builders. Now, with Donut Doug in the lobby, I feel like Doug in particular is a player who always makes this Newt more flexible than other players tend to make it when they're the ones in ADC.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely a character he can lean on, but I will note that I feel like Newt's kind of full int build we've been seeing as of late is way stronger than her kind of ADC route of things. Right. I'd like to see Doug on a more traditional pick on her, obviously taken off the table. Jingwei again, also off the table. Hui, Apollo, gone, even the Artemis as well. I feel like both ADCs are starting to have to really dig deep into the god pools of what they will be picking here for this game. Maybe an Uller in the cards, though Uller's build route doesn't feel the best right now. More of a jungle pick as of late. Yeah, I feel like we're digging real deep here for these 2 ADCs.
I feel like the one we saw hovered in game 1 had my interest, and that was the Chiron. I would love to see that. And I keep bringing Chiron up in the ADC role in particular, just because it seems like it's being very undervalued over Chiron mid. But to me, they've always done the same thing. As it's locked in, hey, look at me. Maybe I just still know a little bit of ball and smite too. So the Chiron gets locked in, so that feels like it kind of clears up our duo lane, at least for Bob and his builders. On the other side, though, that is a Cupid. I don't remember the last Cupid I saw that especially was ADC.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it. They're going to have to dig deep for the god pools. I feel like this is a pick that we've been seeing a lot more as of late. Cernanos locked in here on the side of the Crimson Lions. I quite like it with a lot of the CC they already have paired alongside it. I like this identity, but a Wukong here, and we have Ardio locked in as well. I feel like this is maybe Ardio support, or it's...
I was confused when I saw the Wukong, just because I keep hearing about I know all the stories of how bad Wukong is at the moment. I know Musi might be the happiest person in the world and the Smite game chat right now, but that's just one soul. Your face is one of confusion. Yeah, I'm dying to know the thoughts. Please, I'm trying to share the internal monologue.
Is this a Wukong mid for Benny Q? But then where does the Morgan Le Fay go?
Solo?
To me, Ardio is really strong in solo lane right now. She's very effective. Can kind of do what we saw last game for John Rowing, where it's just in your face, doesn't let you play the game. But this Awilix lock-in tells me this is probably going to be a Wuk, or unless it's Morgan Le Fay in the soul lane.
I was gonna
mid.
Could we be getting an Aurora special?
It might be.
Could this be the MLF in support? Aurora's been so high on more traditional mid laners in the support role. It's been a little ridiculous almost, but that could be the route that Crimson Lions go. That's where I'm hedging my bets.
All right, fair. It's a fair. I feel like it's a fair assessment. I'm gonna hedge my bet that it's maybe Ardio in the soul lane, and then it actually might be Wukong's support here for Aurora. I feel like that's an oldie but a goodie that he used to run a fair bit back in the old days.
Oh, I get to find out who's right, and we all do at that. Let's head on to the battleground of the gods. Game number 2 is upon us here on our Friday night in AGL. And oh my goodness, would you look at that? The old play-by-play, the old man with greatest hair book, he's still got it. Aurora locks in the Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I'm kind of curious to see how it really works out here. The aspect of the Cursed Crown, basic attacks become melee. We don't see this a whole lot, and I feel like for good reason. Morgan Le Fay, I feel like fits best in the mid lane right now. Obviously, just not as effective, I feel like, in melee range, but curious to see how Aurora can kind of pilot it. Again, I have not seen this aspect kind of gameplay, especially in support as of late. So again, curious to see how it's piloted, what Aurora can kind of get done with this character.
I'm so happy.
Are you happy because you're right and I'm wrong? Or
no,
like,
not the second part. I'm happy independently because I'm right. It's been a hot minute since I've gotten to experience that.
Fair.
I mean, Benny Q on the Wukong, I guess that is what it is, right? Tempo on the Thor, though, that's one that I like. I feel like you're pretty tuned into my Twitter as well. I feel as though I've seen some discourse on the Thor support recently all over Twitter, so I'm excited to see Tempo play it. I feel like it goes really well into this composition too.
Oh,
Benny indeed, putting on the jets to get away. Oceans will be there, but still Wukong, so half health, not great, but not horrible this early.
No, and also has a chalice, or no, just the pots as well to slowly tick back up. But this is melee versus range matchup, and the melee will always struggle in this kind of early laning phase against the range matchup who can just kind of poke from a distance. So keep note of that between this matchup of King Oceans and Benny Q. But the later this game goes, the better it will be for Benny Q's poke.
Dual lane was pretty active last time. Same thing with solo. So you got to watch the map, got to watch those health bars. Things can just simply go nuts at any given point. Brad Tasker wasn't even considered. It's wild. Doug does have the first poke. You see the step up in the aggro from Tempo, but that leaves the Chiron exposed. Doug has to back away and is forced to use that Aegis very early.
Yeah, unfortunate there. And he's going to really struggle. At the very least, they are kind of zoning Aurora and Bayro off this wave. Nice wall there.
Is that a first blood? The knockback, the damage, the auto first blood goes to Tempo and Bob and his builders.
What a beautiful CC chain there between the two players as Benny Q trying to invade here, but could get caught out by Inbound, who is level 2 as well. But Benny has level 3. He has the dash.
You see the hunt already. There's the ward just to make sure nobody was coming, but it helps Dafty Duck see who was on the way. Tempo gone. Baronary with the trade back after the death onto his support. Now stepping up to Donut Doug looking for the kill, but Doug forces him away. What's the cooldown? Do you even have the masterful shot yet? We already saw the clear and we saw the knockback. So no masterful shot available for the kill.
You see Sunprod wrapping to this left-hand side, but isn't going to be able to get there in time for the gank onto Doug, but is able to secure that blue neutral at the very least. You mentioned the Thor support earlier, and I like it. I personally prefer it a lot more in the jungle as of late. Can kind of be this, even with Aspect, can kind of be this character that is just set up. And a big part of it to me is these walls, and we saw it there. Tempo could just kind of start the scrap from a distance in a safe angle. And lately we've been seeing a lot of that where Thor's walls could just be a great way to start a team fight or play for poke. And I like this identity for Tempo, and it's something that he's very comfortable on. I've seen Tempo play it a fair bit. But as the game goes on, look to Tempo to see how he starts these fights off these walls.
I was expecting to see a wall just fly out of nowhere when you said that. That was why the dramatic pause was there, but fortunately not stepped up. But the drama was in solo the whole time. John Rowing steps up past the tower line and pays for it after the feather step, locks him down in place. Fortunately for John Rowing, nothing Inbound could do. You can just jump away.
Yeah, kind of surprised John Rowing is under the tower at all there. Kind of curious to see what the events, were in the lead up to that. Why is John Rowing in that kind of position there? Yeah, he's got Inbound in tow, but it's a Kali. You're not making any plays in this early game, and against an Awilix who has all the early game playmaking potential, gotta be a little more respectful. His left hand side, dual lane scrapping.
Here we go, giddy up indeed to the Aurora, Phantom Shell from Tempo, but just not enough to set up the damage, and the ultimate not quite online. That's not two times where Doug needed more abilities, but don't worry, Inbound's got the buttons working, but no ult there either. What a wall, but the auto is better, and Inbound will fall.
Just not enough, CC lockdown potential in this early game for Tempo just yet, but they are going to be able to get a purple buff invade, and that still feels pretty worth there for Inbound to get that dive, get that kill, the purple invade as well. Now the wall onto Bayro.
Is there a pixel there to get away? Doesn't matter. Donut Doug with another kill in this duo lane. 8 kills, by the way, at 4 minutes total in this game.
Yeah, 4 for 4. And so that gold lead is just kind of up and down yet again, similar to game 1. But do you want to give a shout out to this combo here of Tempo and Donut Doug working so well together so far? This early scrap in the left-hand side has been so consistent for them. They're layering their CC and damage so effectively off of each other. The wall into the dash in from Donut Doug to displace one of the members of the Crimson Lions duo lane. And then the damage is following up there from Tempo, who can be aggressive on this Thor in the early game, despite building full tank, can just kind of play aggressive because of those early base stats.
That was something I was going to ask you. Now that we're in week 3 of AGL, obviously these teams are comprised slightly differently of players from other leagues. Hang on. This is dangerous for Benny Q in the mid lane. Wall out. Benny going to be forced to ult. Does instantly go away, but look at the hunt there. Inbound on it. Skyfall 2, and the Skyfall will pop Benny Q. But Inbound, not safe quite yet. Ult won't matter. Can't get away from the Wheelish.
Nice pull there, and Sunprod still looking for more. Gets rooted, but has Aurora in tow.
There's the wall. Are you booted? Tempo? Certainly so. One more auto will do it. Double kill for Sun Prodigy. Now stepping up, looking for King Oceans. Won't be there, but plenty of damage done. That makes it 5-6 before 6 minutes.
Big return kills there from Sunprod as Dishonored destroying John Rowing on the right-hand side, forcing the Mulan ultimate there. Nice play from Dishonored. Sunprod on the way, though.
There's no way. Surely not. Going through, stunned, pulled back, has the beads.
Yeah, nice little heat check there from Sunprod. I mean, don't like that he had to use the beads there, especially against this Bob and this builder's composition. We've already seen now how Tempo has been playing with these Thor walls to start these engagements. If Sunprod gets caught out there off of a Thor wall, he can kind of die pretty quickly. The likes of the damage on the side of Bob and his builders, this Kali damage, this Newt damage, this Chiron damage, all these characters that are only going to get stronger as the game goes on.
There's, oh boy, don't blink, you'll miss action. Is it a kill though? Not quite. Inbound will at least consider it, but Dishonored clears way too much space too quickly in that bear form. This is one of those games, Book. I feel like you had one with Mort like this recently on Olympus Smite League. Sometimes in this current meta, action just seems to take over, and that's something I was trying to bring up earlier before all hell broke loose for the 3rd time already this game. It's as these teams are growing, I'll wait again. Inbound, the 1v1 with Aurora gets to jump away. How do you feel like the synchronicity of these teams is improving as the weeks go on?
It's interesting because all these teams are playing against each other in Smite Prime. They'll hold that again. They're scrapping again in the mid lane.
Benny Q, bird form away, but look who's here. Everybody is here for the most part. So let's break it down. Why not? Aurora looks for something early, can't find it, but up to the sky will go Tempo, who we looking at in the back line. There's the dive. Aurora's already dead. The knockup from Sunprod. Everything gets dropped when the explosions are said and done. Who's gonna have the kills? Donut Dug over the wall. Inbound finds Benny Q. Bodies drop it to 2 for 2. Make that a 2 for 3 as the double kill rolls through for the King of the Ocean, King Oceans.
Yeah, he's sitting comfortably all the while. John Rowing still just diving Benny Q under the tower. Just so much damage here between this combo. John Rowing rotating to this fight, makes such an impact of just running down the carries. Beautiful Mulan performance so far, and this Newt, the biggest beneficiary of that fight, now 3-0-1 on this character, has that first item completed, uses it to such impact, is able to just dive, use those dashes to reset the ones. Doug has to be careful here, but is 2 levels up.
Baronary really wants this fight, but Doug, with the disrespect, turns his back to Baronary, by the way.
Yeah.
knowing that inbound was on the way, but still, that just felt a little rude, no?
Yeah, turned his back to him and still avoided the Bramble Blast there from the Chiron. That's got to feel a little BM there. Can we maybe get a referee to maybe give...
Judge!
Yeah, can we give Doug a warning here? A yellow card? Maybe not a red card just yet, but definitely a yellow card.
Bare minimum. Bare minimum. 9 minutes, 9-8. And the gold, it's there. It's 500, but you can see from the up downs, from the earthquake on our graph, it's not a consistent gold lead. There won't be a lot of consistency, at least for the time being, as long as fighting like this continues. But look, end of the day, plain and simple, with this much fighting, with these two team compositions, who do you feel like gets the biggest advantage from fighting like this?
Normally, I would say the Crimson Lions, because you have an Awilix, you have a Cernanos, and those are 2 characters that want to be scrapping at the early game, 2 characters who can scrap at the early game. But the way that Bob and his builders have been playing, the way their comp kind of works and flows together, I feel like they're the better beneficiaries here of the early game scraps. As Sunprod,
Inbound really wants to continue that, but with Benny Q lurking, it can't quite commit. Duo lane looks like a 1v2 on Donut Doug, who does have that ult online, so Doug is simply not worried, and you can see that in the play style and the movement of Doug. Do you want to point out one thing that Mort was hovering before, and that was those firebrands, the rocks. They're making some differences felt, especially on characters like the Artio, so keep that in the back of your head as this game continues on. Doug turns the corner, still has 2 there. You notice both junglers are lurking, but it'd be a 2v3. Thor does have the ultimate. Tempo can be here quickly if needed. No pull. Inbound. Still chased out. The Wheelish looking to dive. Up. Tempo here. Thor up. Thor down. The stun, no good. Inbound's going to be forced to ult, but it's going to come out a little bit early. And on the jump. Sun Prod making inbound pay. Doug can't even ult. Double kill for Prod. Tempo does get 1. It's a pity kill at that. 2 for 1 and big time play for the Crimson Lions off the back of exceptional jungle play.
Yeah, nice play there from Sunprod. Just holds that ultimate to the right time. And now Tempo in a lot of trouble here to Aurora.
There's the chase, the ult, the stun right after. How long till hammer? Gotta be another second. Should be up about now. Want to get to that wall. You have back up around. The stun, no, the hammer never comes online. King Oceans is here. Has backup in the form of inbound. That should be plenty with the bleed, right? Right? Oh my God, it wasn't. The jump was enough. A little bit of an emote on the way out.
This is kind of bad here for Bob and his builders. It feels like they could have contested that Gold Fury. Now they can't. They don't have numbers nearby. Doug on the way, though, has ultimate, knows this is going on here, but it's too late.
Ults! Oh, not in time. I thought, oh, that wasn't. I got so jump scared. I saw the cudgel. I thought that was the Chiron ultimate. And my heart rate must have jumped up to like 120.
Spooky. But the Crimson Lions do get the first Gold Fury, and that is I feel like the first real, like not even really a lead, but at least a big tempo lead. It feels like they make a pretty significant play in left, and it gets them a neutral objective that will benefit them long term. So some investments being made here in the early game for the Crimson Lions, but Bob and his builders responding pretty well so far. This is gonna be the first firebrands going their way.
I know it's big for Mort. Mort's been tracking the rocks this game, and wisely so. But to actually kind of see the difference it makes, I feel like that's something. There's always that thing that casters focus in on that people are like, why do you care so much? And in Smite 2, it's the rocks. Tempo, hammer away is okay for now. In Smite 2, it's the rocks. People don't. I feel like at lower levels, that is a big difference. I noticed that watching a bit of the Nkindu play in Babylon last night. The priority was there in the firebrands, but it wasn't for the rocks. It was for the farm around it. Higher play, those rocks make such a difference.
Yeah, I agree. And you'll see teams often send junglers to mid or to solo side just to push out the wave, to rotate on their member over first as Aurora diving King Oceans on the right-hand side, though Dishonored's getting dove.
Someone's got to die, surely. Dishonored lower, but you can see inbound taking worse of the damage from it. Ocean stands strong in the mid lane. Right lane, they back up too. Sunprod waiting for the Chiron on the left-hand side of the map. Chiron about to walk past Prod. He'll be at the back farm. Will the Wheelish go for it? Prod's a nowhere. Here we go. Doug turned his back already. Prod's got too much damage.
Wow.
Killing spree for the jungler.
And that's just extra stats there for those rocks, able to be more effective in this early game as Nuke goes up.
There's the Skyfall from it, but can't bring him over the wall. Maybe that sets up Inbound and Tempo to go further on the chase. Thor, where are we going? We're finding 2, make it 1. The Wheelish jump away was good. The wall for the Sun. Inbound on the follow-up and a blink back in from Prod. Gonna cripple out Inbound and slow down the chase. An ult and a turnaround. Can you find the kill? Tempo needs an auto. Tempo spins to win, but Baronary shuts him down and makes him pay for it, then instantly pops the dagger. That means Inbound can't risk getting close, at least not for the time being, even with John rowing there.
Sunprod just making a nice play there as Dishonored is able to take down the tier 1 on the right-hand side. And I feel like this RDO has been consistently bullying John rowing under into his tower. And this is Doug here on the right-hand side, though. I feel like this is a lane swap already being brought out here between these two. Doug dashing in onto Dishonored
and spam taunting before it.
Yeah.
Sorry, listen, everyone gets distracted, and I think Chiron's taunts are funny. Benny Q finds a kill in the mid lane on King Oceans. That's a 14th kill for the Crimson Lions as we pass 14 minutes. Inbound hunt damage, my goodness. But is it a kill? Nope, bird form, am I right?
That is just time and time again where I feel like Inbound isn't able to finish off these kills with the lash. Tempo hunting, wall off the mark.
With no wall, it's going to be tough to get the kill as you have no ult either. Matter of fact,
no
Tempo
hammer.
Should be worried again. No hammer and dead. Now the Mulan's on the way too. Oh my goodness. Look, it never ends. No, go ahead, please.
It won't end. No, John Rowing, listen, he's dead here. There's no world I feel like he escapes. Oh, maybe not actually.
Maybe this world. Maybe this is that one timeline. No, Doctor Strange just got shot in the head.
No, he's dead. He's dead. I like what Sunprod has done though in terms of upgrading that blink early on into a item where he's gonna have it able in combat, as well as the cooldown's just going to be a little bit easier to use. So just keeping that tempo and that aggression early, I like it so far. It's been a nice play style for him.
This is one of the more calm and free Queen Nagas I feel like I've gotten to see since I've been in the booth, since Queen Nagas existed. So how significant is it to get it that free? Not just getting it in general, but with the addition of little to no stress.
I mean, that's a mistake there from Bob and his builders, I feel like, where they're trying to make that play. And this is what I was going to say is Tempo's kind of running it down here. I feel like when important objectives are up, Tempo's being aggressive and looking for these little plays here and there like that have, hey, like this on the left-hand side as Sunprod is here.
Hammer in from Tempo, looks for the RDO as a setup, but instead gets caught. Pyromancer being done. Donut Dog almost dead. The steal on the Pyromancer goes up. The attempt not going to be in time. Baronary gets it. Left-hand side of the map. Somehow Donut Dog got away. Right side still. Skyfall looking for Baronary. Is the dash online? Skyfall hits. No kill. Left side. Doug finally dead to Aurora. That 1 HP didn't last super long. Tempo now left behind, stuck between a bunch of members. John Rowing fighting off Benny Q and gets a kill. Tempo trying to stay alive. Buy time for John Rowing. Double kill for the support, rocking the MLF and getting the damage that comes with such a pick. John Rowing now looking to help out, but oh my god, come on, but he gets him. That's big for Inbound's confidence. The ult didn't matter and Sunprod goes down. That'll leave a roar, but Book, this is looking like a dead support to me.
Yeah, Roar should go down here. I'm sorry, I just had to laugh. Oh, Fire Giant for Dishonored and Baronary. Worth all day, every day for the Crimson Lions. You could lose as many members as you want, as long as you still get this Fire Giant. The dagger gonna go to Dishonored as well. A nice cross-map pickup there for the Crimson Lions.
Smart is smart as you'll have it. And in a moment like this, and with players with this kind of experience, it's not shocking to see them take advantage of map play like that and say, okay, we just go get fire here, I guess. Bob and his builders won't walk away completely empty-handed. Of course, they got all those kills. They also get their first gold theory of the game. Where does that leave us at 17.5 minutes? That leaves us with Crimson Lions, about a couple thousand and a half, thank you, Mort, in the lead. For Bob and his builders, though, that feels like a huge, as strong as your map state still is, and as good as this game's going, the Fire Giant being lost does feel like it affects your tempo swing a lot.
Yeah, I feel like Bob and his builders, they just got a pretty significant win off of what could have been so disastrous for them on the left-hand side. And they're just not aware that, hey, maybe with Bayro, who was kind of hovering in mid, was kind of hovering in right, just did the Pyromancer. Maybe there's a world that this Cernos could be on the Fire Giant right now. Nah, it's only how many minutes into the game? John Rowing in trouble here.
John Rowing counting the seconds until backup arrives. Tempo is around the corner. It was 2 seconds.
Oh.
Left side of the map, Donut Doug sends Baronary to the grave.
That's bad. That's bad for the Crimson Lions. That's a potential tower pusher off the map with Fire Giant. And so that's now only 2 Fire Giants available. Sunprod does find Doug on the left-hand side, though.
Wow, I'm shaking my head physically, IRL. I just cannot handle, like, every second it feels like someone's just caught existing in a different lane, Book. This does not feel sustainable for, I mean, I guess either team, but especially Bob and his builders, that you are consistently giving away these picks.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's funny you just mentioned, like, oh, they're getting caught right as BennyQ is crossing between the tier 1 and tier 2 tower and gets caught out there. Just had to laugh there. But you can see Lions looking to push their lead here, pushing down mid, diving even.
John Rowing, first poke. King Ocean's notably low as well. Aurora is doing a lot of damage in moments that matter. Even if the damage isn't jumping up on the player damage charts, you can feel the impact Aurora is having in this game. It's just not where you expect it to come from. A blink is out, the damage is on. Inbound starts things off strong. Skyfall should help out a little bit too. You've got another member in there, but they're already dead. Donut Doug didn't even get to participate in that fight. That dude's participation trophy got melted down and sold for a stick of candy at that rate. My goodness. Crimson Lions, Book, they look like they're wanting to push further.
Yeah, why not? And Doug just on his own, kind of surprised he got caught there. Sunprod pulls in one member.
But we're stuck now. You see the roots. Look at the damage after the fact. Crimson Lions just cannot be stopped. Where's the damage in return for how aggressively the red side is playing? Killing spree for Dishonored as inbound falls. Who's up next? King Oceans can't answer. John Rowing is poked out. Tempo has an ult, but where do you use it in a situation like this? There's the ult from Mulan. They cannot stop the RDO. A knock up on John Rowing. Whoa. And just like that, Brambles just got blasted, and John Rowing is now looking at the world through black and white. Tempo will join him in his pity. Maybe Donut Doug is the hero, only for so long. No, he's got the ultimate. Doug makes that work. He might still fall, but Baronary could go with it. But King Oceans dies, and that's a deicide. You just got deicided at 20 minutes at your Phoenix by the Crimson Lions. What the hell is happening?
Yeah, I was kind of curious how that fight would go when Sunprod pulled in someone and then they didn't instantly die off the ulti, and I was a little worried for the Crimson Lions, but they continue that siege, are able to dive past members, and it comes back to me of Doug getting caught out there past the Phoenix line. Kind of curious why he was there. Maybe thought they were fighting under the tier 2 and then didn't get the memo that everyone else was backing up to defend the Phoenix, just got caught out there. Imagine if Doug's there. That fight is a lot easier for Bob and his builders. That defense, you can kind of play Chiron like an artillery mage from a distance, but with him dead and this attack speed build he's kind of gone towards, not able to be,
look at those charts,
on the defense.
Charts hurt if I'm Bob and his builders, because the charts kind of tell the story of your team fights and how many you've chosen to have and how every time there has been one, you've lost so much from it. The experience is the one that really jumps out at me. I mean, you can see it right there, 17-14 for Aurora. Donut Doug is your real strong point in that aspect, but it all builds up and it all bottles up and creates problems.
Benny.
John Rowing versus the world in right lane, by the way. But the squad is here, the police have arrived, and John Rowing, yeah, those handcuffs might be a little bit tight. I think he's got blurred vision. The Mulan will fall.
Finally, all the while in mid lane, Dishonored and Baronary looking to team up here to fight the 2v3 as inbound goes in.
Baronary's around the corner. The wild hunt. Maybe inbound can turn it around, but instead inbound is the one being hunted. Baronary acquires it and puts inbound on his shelf as the trophy. A Skyfall to try to make something happen, but you just get the one, and Oceans loses his own life. Now Tempo is the newest hunt on the list. Does have an ultimate to get away, but where do you go? The map has been shrunken. Donut Doug able to kill Aurora in a 1v1 in the short term, and Tempo finds a not so safe spot to get away. Jump scare! Ooga booga! Sun Prod! 1v1 dead in the jungle. Another one to the jungler's pocket. Call it 12 for Sun Prodigy.
Yeah, just running this game again, continuing to make plays across the map, kind of going wherever, whenever he wants. And a lovely look from Sunprod there, and just more scrapping that doesn't really lead to anything for Bob and his builders. I feel like John Rowan getting caught out right is unfortunate, yeah, but I'm pretty sure gold was available. Why not look towards that objective? Maybe you can't because Fire Giant is available in that moment, as Doug is in a 1v1 against Benny Q.
Of course. Okay, I have a question. Book.
Yep. Let's hear it.
This is week 3.
I may not be able to answer it depending on if they fight or not, but go on.
Sure. Yeah. This is week 3. Oh, there's the kill.
Oh, there's Benny Q. Yeah.
This is week 3. Friday nights on Smite game, by the way. Don't miss them. Bob and his builders are looking tough in this instance, but these look like two incredibly strong teams. That feels like the only reason this game isn't close is because they're both so good. Am I wrong in thinking that? Like, even the bad fights from Bob and his builders look pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like Bob and his builders, yeah, they're down, but they have moments where they look really cohesive. I mean, the dual lane of Tempo and Donut Doug has been so cohesive together. Benny Q being dead here, though, this is a window for Bob and his builders to look to take advantage of it. They get the Pyro. I would have liked to have seen them pull Fire Giant here, maybe take more advantage of this 4v5 situation, but instead going to spend the time just farming up at some point. And this has been, I think, the issue for me, for Bob and his builders these past 2 games. You just got to pull the trigger. You got to force the 50-50 around the objective, or bait them into at least a fight, because it feels like Crimson Lions have been the ones kind of forcing Bob and his builders to answer the questions of, okay, if we pull this objective, what are you going to do? And it doesn't feel like Bob and his builders have been asking that question to Crimson Lions this entire series.
Messy map at the moment. John Rowing is alone on right. I mean, it's Mulan. You can get away from this, but if you look at left, ooh, Sunprod could get caught by 2 depending on pathing. How long is this staying messy? Fire Giant's up. It looks like he will be okay. Look, what are we looking at this firefight? Is that the next big event? Is that our next canon event? Is it just see what Fire's got for us? Or do Bob and his builders try to play the slow game here?
I feel like Bob and his builders, you can easily, I think they defend this Fire Giant for sure, but it's going to be a matter of, do Crimson Lions decide to pull it as Tempo, or sorry, that's Doug.
Oh,
that's
Doug. That was Doug. That is now a dead pony.
Why? I get it. I get it. Fire Giant's up. You have to know, are Crimson Lions on the objective in that moment? But Doug getting caught out there is abysmal. There's no, I don't think there's a world that Bob and his builders can necessarily contest this objective. Really, they're gonna try. It's gonna be a 5v4, and they're gonna try, and they have good damage between this Newt and the Kali, but you can already see it's getting low quick.
Inbound's going for a very high flank here, if that is a flank.
Late.
Fire Giant's gonna die any second. You can see the rest of Bob and his builders are very split. The Fire will fall. Inbound will think better of positioning and simply go back to farming. Tough end there, and they're still hunting down King Oceans, by the way. They're still just chasing him out in the mid lane, not letting him go. And the wall's there. Mid lane, Mulan, excuse me, right lane. Well, that used to be a Mulan. Tough look there. Inbound, no way.
This is the longest flank of the century. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
he went all the way around the map to try and make this play happen. This had better be a beautiful play from him on the right. As it
Oceans aggresses mid. Oh, Benny Q barely. It's away. Inbound still flanking, by the way. Now Inbound goes aggressive. The Skyfall's going to back it up. Sunprod almost caught him, brought down. And it works out. Inbound. He did it. He did it, gang. Inbound Nation, rise up. Oh, his mid laner's dead. Donut Doug almost dead on the respawn. Can this still work, though? Bob and his builders, they have the commitment. They have the plan, and it works out. The long flank works. They do lose their right Phoenix to Baron Airy, who kind of just got left behind. And now from flanking to running away, Inbound being chased by Aurora through the jungle.
I mean, that's
fine
there,
Baron Airy, though.
Oh, Barrow not on his own, though. Benny Q shows up, and Barrow keeps on Doug.
Oh, no. Bronies, look away. The pony's dead again. Bob and his builders looking for a defense that should have been offense in the right lane. Baronary gets to walk away with his mid laner in tow with barely a scratch on themselves.
They're trying to siege this mid now, and they have the, the Minotaur minion to just keep going while off the mark.
Surely we're not still fighting, by the way. Blink, commitment, Baronary handles tempo. In goes inbound, finds the opportunity, finds the kill onto the ADC of Crimson Lions. Now it's a back, defense mid, looking good. Benny Q will fall too. Now it's the Crimson Lions. Look, they're the ones making mistakes. It's positive mistakes, I guess. I mean, you got 2 Phoenixes, but that feels like it was way sloppier than it should have been, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I was curious if King Oceans was going to get gone on there by Sunprod, who was in the area.
In this damn game.
Yeah, you never know. But I feel like still hunting here. I feel like I can't talk too much because I feel like a play is just about to happen at any moment.
Maybe right here, right? Maybe.
All right,
not quite. Oh boy,
he's out. Oh, maybe not.
Tempo in combo, good. Back up. Where is it? It's inbound. Off to the side. No good. But maybe they commit. Aurora's a flank. Did they do anything with it? Nah.
Is that how you talk?
No, I think they go to Gold Fury. I like this call. Bob and his builders, they need to start getting objective wins.
How is this
they
working?
Don't take it's you mentioned it. Crimson Lions, they kind of made a bit of an oopsie on the right hand side there. I mean, Sunprod gets caught as Aurora now with the flank of his own.
The Gold Fury goes down. That's positive for Bob and his builders, but they have to get away from the fight. Donut Doug has ult as a panic button, but more importantly, has the squad here, and they're helping out plenty. Tempo on the fadeaway defense. The kiting is working, but the lightning just struck the kite, and you can see the bones to the shock, but of a shock of his own, it's inbound, and the ultimate for 1 in a killing spree. The jump away is good to the rest of the team, but no, he's caught over the wall, dead, and the Bramble Blast will secure it. Now an ultimate out from the Wukong. This could be game double from Baronary. That leaves the Chiron, and Donut Doug will get 1, but will go down. It's trips for Baronary. John Rowing, though, shuts down the highlight reel and cues the montage music to handle the rest of Crimson Lions. The game is not ending right here. Aurora and John Rowing will be the last 2 standing for each team. This is one of the dumbest games I've ever seen, but in the best way. What a fun one on Friday night.
I mean, John just saves the game there with that play, just is able to find the right members in that moment, takes down Baronary at the last moment there. I loved the attempt at a re-engage there from Bob and his builders, but Doug, just not on the same page, decides to back, can use his Chiron ultimate from a distance to impact that play. Everyone on Crimson Lions were stacked up there for that stun. Why not stay there and just throw out the damage from a distance? Instead decides to back, and maybe that is the right call because they don't lose the game right then and there. And all the while, that right-hand side Phoenix is respawning right as Fire Giant is respawning. So Bob and his builders have done a good job of just sustaining the game out and just slowing the pace down. And look at that goal lead. It's kind of climbing back up,
which is so
towards
silly.
Bob and his builders.
I'm not a chat reader, but chat, you guys at home? Are you feeling good? Are you having fun? Mort, are you good? Go back to the items if you're feeling good. They can't hear. Yeah, that's not the items. That's not good.
No, that's
not good.
That's not good.
That's not good. I thought he was gonna say he was good. I thought he was having fun. Pyromancer down. Oh boy, where do we go from here, Book? Because I don't want to try to predict, and I'm not even asking you to predict because it's a tough one. But how the hell do we end up at just another who gets fire moment after all of that? It doesn't feel like it makes any sense.
I got news for you though, Anthony. Inbound has completed the build, and it's an interesting one. Transcendence Book of Thoth. There's so much power behind this Kali build that Inbound has reached critical mass. He has potential to just all in a backliner, one-shot them, and then 1v5 win the game for them.
A Bobby pentakill on Friday night?
Possible.
AGL stocks up. Damage is on. Benny Q stocks down. There's one. There is one. Who's up next? A Skyfall to bring the enemy closer. Damage on Aurora. Tempo is going to steal this one, I fear. John Rowling will get the killing spree. Aurora falls. What is happening? How are you getting caught out like this if you're Crimson Lions? A mess around the Fire Giant. It feels like none of those kills had to happen.
Yeah. I'm kind of at a loss for words. They are on the fire giant though, and they're getting it quickly. I'm surprised inbound's not here. Why is inbound on the left-hand side? They're on
the
fire
way.
giant. Rotate.
Wind Sprite from Dishonored to get closer, then the bear form around. In the back line, John Rowing dives deep, has to get away instantly. Now inbound's going to be here. Donut Doug with the first kill to fight on the Sun Prod. The Fire Giant let go around half health. Donut Doug might die. John Rowing's low too, but inbound is able to bring down Dishonored. Jumps in, and the power is power indeed. And as the Fire Giant becomes enhanced, inbound does the same thing. That is an EFB, an enhanced fire. Bobbert and Bob and his builders are hitting hard.
Big plays there from inbound, and sure enough, the full power build looks pretty good when you get all 6 items here. The Kali doing numbies. Benny Q on the way. Can he get there in time? No, and he gets his beads forced as well.
And now inbound on the hunt. Damage on will force the ultimate early. What direction is he going? Away. Inbound hits way too hard. That'll be EFG on 4 members of Bob and his builders as 34 minutes is around the corner. Both Phoenixes are up. Crimson Lions are significantly hurt. As Mort hovers, the Obsidian Dagger is in the pocket of Tempo and Golden Experience. Experience obviously mattering less. The gold is evened up, so 3K pots and final builds will surprisingly end up happening around the same time.
Yeah. This is an interesting one, because now we get to the point where it's like, okay, well, how does Bob and his builders siege this one? And they do have decent damage at the very least. Doug has a full attack speed, auto attack build, can shred down towers, sure, but how does Doug ever position against this composition to get relevant damage off on these towers? That's going to be my question for him, because he doesn't really have a lot of tools around him to, really buy space for him outside of John Rowing. And look at this on the left-hand side. Crimson Lions, they're looking for an ambush play in the enemy jungle.
This is a kind of interesting play to make.
I like it.
I see a lot online, and notably there's a Pyro Bomb and Pocket of Baron area as well. You can make a lot happen with that, especially if you're the ones playing the offense. Problem is, Bob and his builders are a team book that will notice quickly if you're missing. So they'll just say, okay, we just end then. Which, unfortunately, for those looking for a crazy backdoor play, is what happens. The Crimson Lions back to base, and Buck hits a Phoenix Siege.
Yeah, instead they've gone towards the mid bird, which is interesting. They're not looking for the best objective on the left-hand side. They'll force mid instead.
Where do you go? Who's that first go button? An insane game for Bobby on this Kali. The damage is significantly online. Doug, while slower in these past few fights, is still hitting like a truck as well. Baron area, we've seen it matter time and time again in these engagements where that CERN damage is being put. So much to keep our eyes on, but it all starts with who goes in first. Bob and his builders go left looking for a new way in.
Yeah, they lose the Minotaur in mid, and now they'll use it in left, try and get the better bird down.
Rowing in first, Phoenix at half, a blink forward, a lot of damage, ult from inbound, but he's in no man's land, and Baron area will make him pay. That is a huge shutdown. With a Phoenix to go, though, for Bob and his builders, they're going to look at the Titan. They've got damage in. They're going to force the Lions back into the throne room. But can they go for an end? It does not seem like it quite yet. Bob and his builders will regroup and push their attentions to potentially the mid lane.
They have to find a play here, I feel like. Why not look for the Gold Fury fight here with inbound being dead for another 40 seconds? You only have Aurora's ultimate really to make work, but I feel like they have to look for something. Instead, they're just spreading the map here. Happy to give this Gold Fury. I get it. You're Dishonored.
Could be caught. Tempo in first. The wall for the cutoff. That's enough damage for sure to bring down the bear. And indeed, he's a pelt. Dishonored is dead. King Oceans with the credit. Now to the Titan. Is this a Titan call, perhaps? You see Bob and his builders. They slow it down. They're looking mid instead.
Yeah, this is the right call here, I feel like. As you see, Dishonored still dead, but 4 members still strong, and Sun Prod has to be tracked a lot these fights because he can go big.
But how fast can inbound get here? Remember, Bob and his builders are in the throne room, basically. Up, down, tempo, stun is good. Kill, even better. Sun Prod is gone. Tempo with the credit, Doug with the damage. Mid Phoenix, new target, inbound, stopping at a buff. It'll be a while until the Kali is here. The Mid Phoenix, half health. Bob and his builders now spread. You can see Benny Q's got one pushed to the side. It's King Oceans. He can't find it, but around the side, Donut Doug gets the sniper hit, but Benny Q trades out from the grave. It's a kill on King Oceans. Doug stands in front of Aurora, looking for damage as Baron Airy goes off to the side and has to back. Aurora handles Doug, and with no more Chiron, that will slow efforts significantly. By the time inbound gets here, Bob and his builders have lost their most dangerous piece of siege equipment.
They don't even get the Gold Fury now, Bob and his builders. After all that, I feel like you were content with getting the left-hand side and then backing off.
They were there a while.
Yeah, you can see the left-hand side timer is offset from this EFG as well, so you have that advantage. And now Doug is the last man respawning here after that whole engagement. And so there is a window where Crimson Lions can push out this left-hand side and run right towards that Fire Giant, force a 5-on-4 before Doug can really respond to that.
Yeah.
But instead, Crimson Lions, they're just kind of spreading the map right now, sending Dishonored left. Doug will be up in time to look towards this Fire Giant. So maybe Bob and his builders, they have that window and that opportunity to really force this objective, force Crimson Lions to answer the question of how do you respond to our objective pull?
It's the objective pull, but it's just the pure damage too, because there's a part of me that looks at how much John Rowing is able to face tank, especially if we were to go back at items and look at what's in the Mulan's pockets. I almost want John Rowing to lead the way, ult, and to see what Doug and Inbound make happen, because it feels like their damage has been unanswered by the Crimson Lions in these fights until things start getting towards the tail end of a fight. Is that a catch? Is that a catch on Sun Prod? No, almost.
Prod having beads and blink force though is a big deal. I feel like those are two tools that he's used to be very active in fights. But look at this, Sun Prod's picked up the Aegis as an active item now.
Benny not as tanky as you might assume as a Sun Wukong, and he feels the poke for it. Sun Prod is in left, dealing with minions as the Phoenix will respawn soon. Bob and his builders, they pick up the EFG, but book, the Crimson Lions are on the way.
Benny's low here. Dishonored has to frontline here. Pull from John.
Inbound already poked out. Same story for Benny Q. Who's going to be the one to make the first move? Benny Q has to ult to stay alive. The up down's going to find damage on John Rowing. Meanwhile, the fight in front of our faces. Who's going to die there? Baron Airy with the shutdown on John Rowing is significant. Ocean's ult, no good. Teams are splitting. Inbound will be found in the mid lane by Sun Prod. We have a jungler 1v1 that has the game's weight on its shoulders. He's caught. When he drops, he has to ult. Inbound has no kill. Can he survive? No, he cannot. Aurora brings down the raid boss of Kali, and the Crimson Lions run over to the EFG, looking to run over Bob and his builders.
Tempo nearby, so is Doug. They're looking for a potential steal window here, but Dishonored gonna zone away the Chiron. It's gonna be up to Tempo.
5K on its way. Tempo up into the sky. When he lands, he looks at the EFG. Doug is now the center of attention. 1K on EFG. Tempo's there. Spin to win. Auto, no good. Baron Airy gets the Fire Giant for the Crimson Lions. And they're looking for the Crimson that belongs to Tempo. And it runs cold along the ground. Baron Airy with another kill, the 14th of the game. And it looks like the Crimson Lions are calling game. Oceans will fall to a roar. Killing spree for the support. Donut Doug and John Rowing. It will remain just them, and it's down to just them.
Let's see, Bobby's gonna be up in 6 seconds. That is potential pentakill in the character, but Crimson Lions playing this smart. Aurora, what are you doing, Aurora?
There's the damage. It slows. That's one. A shutdown kill for Inbound that will slow the siege. Now Inbound steps up. John Rowing is there. That's a lot of damage, but Inbound has ult. Do you go for a full commit on the defense? Not needed. Crimson Lions do not end this game. 42-45. 42 minutes. We do not have a winner.
I feel like Aurora just isn't on the same page there, where everyone else is like, go mid, break the base. That's fine. And then Aurora just walks it forward, right into Doug's damage. Inbounds up, has damage himself there. Aurora just dies. I feel like for free, that's 2 EFGs gone off the Crimson Lions. And yeah, you get 2 birds, but those are arguably the 2 worst birds on the map you want to take. You want to get this left-hand side bird and use advantages where you have fire minions pushing on the left-hand side to just kind of make a player at the fire giant. Instead, that won't happen, and Crimson Lions won't have really that window of opportunity to force this weird 5-on-4 where someone's in left clearing waves, doing the homework there. Instead, this will just kind of be, I feel like, even footing around this next objective.
I'm looking at John rowing, and one thing that's bothering me, in that last fight, Bob and his builders split up so significantly. Mort's looking at John rowing too. And the Mulan, despite being so ahead,
Dishonored
had no opportunities. In Dishonored goes, he's a little bit caught down, and Bob and his builders could be caught out. King Ocean's trying to get away. Baron Airy has sights on, gonna Skyfall to stay alive. Maybe you look descended mid. There it is. It'll find a couple around the side. Inbound has company. That's 1 dead, 2 Baron Airy. It's gonna be King Ocean's. Now up in the air is Tempo. Where do you go? Out of the fight. That's out of the fight. Inbound is still in the fight with John rowing, but the split is there again. Mulan will be caught and dropped by the Crimson Lions, and once again, Book, Bob and his builders get separated at the construction site without a hard hat, and all of them had their soft spots tapped. When you have that happen, you can't have a functional team fight.
Bo has to be careful here. He's stepping forward to clear the wave, but he could get caught out here by the RDO, by Baron Airy.
There's the CC, the wall in response. Too little, too late. It's 44 minutes in Smite 2, and everybody's hitting like a 50 cal.
That should do it here. Crimson Lions looking to end the game, but inbound again looking for a flank, but it's just going to back to base. It's only Doug and inbound here to try and defend against 4 members.
Both ults online. Leading the way is Dishonored. Look at the damage the Titan's taking. It's too much. It's too fast. It's done. Just like that. The Crimson Lions take the game. Bob and his builders simply had no answer. Just too much damage. The game went on too long, Book. That's kind of the thing that gets the scariest in Smite 2. There's all these different tools that exist to make the game end, and all of them were in pocket for the Crimson Lions, and Bob and his builders unfortunately found themselves stuck playing spectator to their own defeat.
Yeah, I mean, look, you called it earlier. Shoutouts to Aurora and Dishonored, I feel like, for that Fire Giant play. I feel like they're the ones that really were able to isolate Bob and his builders and put John rowing on a different plane of existence from the rest of his team, because John rowing diving the back line, and then the sort of in and out play from Dishonored. He goes in first, takes some damage. As soon as he can't stand and fight anymore, he leaves, and Aurora walks forward first, immediately after, to kind of use his health bar to keep the members of Bob and his builders away from helping out their soul laner. So John rowing just taking an unfortunate spill. Unfortunate he can't really stand and fight. And I feel like there's this disconnect between the members of Bob and his builders. While they're able to make plays and they look cohesive at times as a full 5-man unit, I feel like they're all not on the same page, while Crimson Lions look, a little disjointed between some members, and some of their individual plays are more highlighted than their, at times they're kind of 2v2s between Benny Q and Sunprod, their dual lane of Aurora and Baron Airy. But as a 5-man unit, they're all on the same page, unless it's Aurora at the end there where he's kind of walking into the Titan room on his own and dies. But either than that, pretty on the same page effectively as a team.
It's funny what you bring out in particular. Inbound had such a good game in jungle, and part of me has to kind of admit that, because, of course I always joke with Bobby, but he's a great player, but to see him do well in jungle was really exciting. But just the splits from the team were one too many, especially when your damage seemed to work best when there was full synchronicity, and cohesion just simply wasn't there at the end. And for the Crimson Lions, that means they get to walk away with a 2-0 feeling great. And what a game from them at that. But what a set overall. A 2-0 that certainly didn't feel like it. But that does bring us to the end of our night. So as Book and I pop back up on your screen right on cue, Mort's killing it tonight. Shout out to Mort doing production for AGL, as well as the whole AGL admin team behind the scenes making things work. Amateur Smite is doing so great right now with AGL Friday, Smite Prime Saturdays, and OSL Sunday. Don't miss any of that action every single week. And until we see you next on Smite Game, have a great night and be safe. Good night, everybody.
Okay. can you go over Jingwei real quick, just so I can see your level?
Yeah, see, that's
That's weird. That's less than radiant, but you have the skin. Let me. How's that work?
We have a Cheetor.
Listen, I earn everything fair and square.
Eventually. Who was it? Was it?
I'm back in the jungle.
I'm back in the
Which
fill.
of the Olympians was it that wanted like Diamond Cthulhu but never played a game? Was that Savisaur?
Yeah, I think it was Savvy. Yeah.
That was.
Hey, do you guys have any preference on what you need?
I think you play whatever you're comfortable with, and we'll fill around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just call me Philip.
Can I just say I love this?
Realistically, guys, I'm entering my Katie era
really
where
cool.
realistically,
So
I'm having so much fun playing Neath that I just keep wanting to go back to Neath, and I'm like, I don't want to become my wife.
I'm kind of at that like with Ymir now in supports. I've just been enjoying the few Ymir supports I've.
All right, no one's picked anything, and I'm staying on Phil.
Yeah, we have 10 seconds,
I'm going
friends.
support.
10, 9,
I'm doing it again.
7, 6, 5, 4,
Well,
3.
Chalk is my boy, but I feel like I had to mix it
I'm
up.
going to Hecate support.
Mix it up. Mix it up.
What are the other? There's on her, Jingwei,
Kurnos,
and Soul.
So you guys want to hear something funny about the
I'd play
Olympian
Soul.
skins?
Maybe I'll play Soul. And
so
Zeus if I
Odin
go crazy.
Odin can solo, right?
Yeah.
Look at my exploding weave damage.
That's pretty big.
Guys, look at my distance
I'm
dash.
sorry, I'm not
I've
at the
dashed
Magic
exactly
Shields level
0
of it yet.
meters.
Wow.
I'm only at level 2 though.
0 stacks on stacks as well.
sorry.
But has a border going.